Welcome to Conversations with Healers, a podcast and video interview series that features intimate, soulful, and cozy conversations with self-healers and healers. Healer to healer, we dive into all aspects of self-healing and healing, and being and becoming a healer. I am Damla Aktekin. I am a healer and the host of this podcast, and I can't wait for you to listen to this conversation. If you are new to this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe so that you can be aware of new episodes. I also invite you to visit adropofom.com, adropofom.com, where I share a lot of free resources for self-healing and healing, and you can take a free quiz to find out what your energetic wounds are and how they may show up in your life. Discovering what your wounds are is the first step in healing them. I hope you enjoy this episode. There is one more thing I would like to share with you before you listen to this episode. I created a wonderful container to help you heal your energetic wounds and activate the infinite light and potential of your inner children. It is a crystal energy healing membership called Chakra Bliss Vault. Every month you will receive 3 new crystal healing sessions. Plus, you'll immediately have access to my entire energy healing recording library when you sign up. The membership is really affordable and will continue to be so. You can find out more about it at adropofom.com, adropofom.com. I invite you to make healing your energetic wounds and connecting with your inner children a priority and invest in your well-being by becoming a Chakra Bliss Vault member. Hello everyone, this is Damla Aktekin with A Drop of Om, and I have today with me Rachel Oz. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so excited to dive into conversation with you. But first, I want to introduce you to our listeners. You are a psychologist, art playgroundist. I love that so much, the way you put it, playgroundist, speaker, author who loves listening to the beauty in people, animals, and all living colors. You're the author of 4 beautiful self-help books, infused with your colorful drawings, all to affirm the human heart. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I usually like to start with asking my guests sort of this whatever comes through today and grand big brush strokes of sort of what got you here in this point in time, doing what you do and loving what you love.
Yes. Well, there's clues in all of our childhoods, aren't there, about the blossoming of who we are and what brings us joy and our natural expressions and ways of being in the world. And when I was little, I was writing poetry. I'd go into the woods and then I'd write about the trees or whatever concrete things in front of me that moved me. And I also loved drawing. So even, going into junior high, my bedroom walls were full of pieces of paper that were drawn from me with rainbow colors and different things and affirming words that almost became wallpaper in my bedroom because they covered every inch. And also, as in terms of being a psychologist, I've just always loved my friends, and I've loved getting near and listening, and they disclosing their secrets to me and their heart stories and their joys and their pains. And so it just feels like ultimately I'm getting paid for who I am.
Oh, I love that.
I do too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes to that. Amen to that.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, when I first got in touch with you,
Yeah.
I was just seeing, of course, your online presence, and it's just so colorful. And it's just, I mean, you have a beautiful smile and you look so joyful and I don't know, just playful. And there's this mischievous spark in you. There's definitely a lot of you there present in what you create and who you are in the world. And my question is, was it always like this? But as you described, like, was there sort of discovery or reintroduction process of you discovering who you were?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I really appreciate that. And I want to respond to that in a couple ways, because really blossoming into who we are unapologetically in full color, even if you like to wear black. When I say in full color, I mean having a voice in this world and being really who you are in this world, to me, is about being in full color. And that we all have suffering in our lives, right? It's not all dancing through the daisies, but believe me, I love dancing through the daisies. But there's hard things and there's hard work. And so I think that it takes intention, effort, love, care, support to really blossom into who you are, and stay with that. And so for me, I want to say, in my own childhood, when my parents divorced when I was 9, that was became a difficult period of time for me. And so there comes this, space where, can you still face the sun? Can you still dive in and find the wisdom in suffering and the invitation in suffering to become something healed and extra magnificent? Sort of the metaphor and cliche of the phoenix, right? Rising out of the ashes. And so I want to say that it's so possible and especially beautiful to use all the material we have and experience, both the joy and the suffering, for our becoming. And the other thing I want to say, the second thing, is, even though that probably sounded like 10 things, is I'm now 56, but in my early 40s, I was at a place where, as a psychologist, I had really created a foundation in my work. Like, okay, I have some sense of what I'm doing and more security in it. And my 2 sons were starting to grow up. My youngest was 8 at that point. So I just felt like I had a little more room to play and be. And it was at that point where I began to reintegrate and felt this deep invitation to begin writing again and to begin creating art again and picking back up from where I left off years ago.
Wow. I just got some like, ooh, like sold out, because I am in my 40s. I'm 43 and my daughter is 10.
Oh,
Very much in that place that you're describing. Like, can I take a little bit more time for myself, for my work that means so much to me, and see where this thing goes, see what wants to bloom,
yes.
what wants to be created, which brings me to, I want to,
Oh.
and I so look forward to being where you are, and I'm happy with where I am, but I mean, that gives me a lot of joy and
Hope
to hear your story. I want to know about that connection with creativity, healing. You mentioned the word becoming. I mean, it sounds to me like at that point in time, and probably earlier than that, as you mentioned, like there were moments of allowing of creativity to come in for you.
Yeah.
How do creativity and healing intersect, and how do you see that interplay.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, first, I just want to say quickly that I'm so moved by the serendipity of our timing of our conversation and of our ages. And I also trust for anyone else listening, to just be noting what is your serendipity timing as well. Okay, so for me, creativity and healing. So interestingly enough, for me in my early 40s, what I'm about to say was a very good thing. And so I was done having my children, but I needed to have a hysterectomy. And just because I was having some issues with my body. And so that ended up being a good thing and a very helpful thing. Um, but I remember having a conversation with someone right before the surgery, and she asked me, "What in your body do you want to take the place of your uterus? Because there's going to be an open space in there." And I said, "My creativity." And so it was from that point on, Dhamma, that's when I began my drawings and my writing and my books and all the things. So I think that interestingly, that, there was a trajectory as I began healing from the surgery that sent me into healing and into creativity. And for me, those were parallel paths. And so that as my body healed from the surgery, healed from the pain that I had that created the need for the surgery, that there was something, it's like healing and creativity were friends, like best friends working together. And as one became greater, so did the other, and vice versa. So that it's almost like in an invisible way that we can't see, but we can know deeply. Creativity and healing communicate with one another and help each other and assist one another. That is my sense.
Oh, I love that. I mean, it's so interesting because your uterus, it's the second chakra, it's the place of like sacral creation.
Right?
And it sounds to me you made a very conscious decision to say, okay, this physical part is out, but the soul of it, I'm bringing that in like in full force into my body, into all of my body, and especially there in the second chakra. I love all of that.
Yes, you know it, Tamla.
I'm feeling a very like kindred soul energy from you. So this is beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Where I want to go next is you had a post on your Instagram.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's related to something in particular in that moment, or if it was like a general declaration. Maybe it's from your books that I haven't touched upon yet, but it said, no risk, no magic.
Oh.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Right. No risk, no magic. Isn't that a good one? Okay, what is there to say about that? Okay, I just got quiet for a second to just see what would fall in to my heart. And I'm going to trust what came in and share it as a story. So I don't know, 6 years ago now. Do you ever have to pause and think, wait, when was this in time? Okay.
I don't know what I ate yesterday morning.
That's it. Exactly. So 6 years ago, I just solved the big math problem. 6 years ago, myself and my family, we were doing a rare and exciting trip out to New York. Our sons then were, I don't know if they were like 18 and 20 or something like that, like old enough to really enjoy a trip like this. And two people had said to me, Rachel, when I swear to, I'm answering your question. Okay. Two people said to me, when you go to New York, there's a clothing store you will have to check out, because I'm telling you, you're going to just love it. And because of how I generally dress, and because of the way I dress my women and girls in my drawings and my books and in my individual art pieces, they were like, we just know you're going to love the store. Okay. So we get to our Airbnb, and serendipity speaks, it's 6 blocks away, the store, and New York's huge. Oh, let me back up. Okay, so when I packed my suitcase for this trip, I've never done this before. I brought a big suitcase, and half the suitcase, it remained empty. I said, half the suitcase is going to be filled with new dresses. It's not like I expected to go crazy buying things. That's not it. I just did this feng shui kind of thing. Like, I'm setting an intention, and I'm going to leave this whole space of my suitcase empty and only pack a very little bit. So, okay, that was the risk. So no risk, no magic. That was a risk, not a huge risk, but like a little leap of faith, right? Like, that doesn't make sense. When we have a purse, we fill it. When we have a suitcase, we fill it. This was against, our primal urges. The squirrel fills the cheek with nuts, So anyway, I go out to New York, and we get into our Airbnb, and I say, the first place I want to go, you guys, is the store. I'm so excited. So I walked into the store and exclaimed, this is my favorite clothing store ever. And the manager runs to me and is like, I heard you. And the boys and my husband are like, we're going to leave you here for a while. But it was the only store they did that. The rest, we enjoyed shopping together and seeing beautiful things together. But this one, they came back 3 hours later, Damla. And I'm standing in a circle with all the staff crying. Because like one of the staff gave me the dress off her back, literally took it off her body and gifted it to me. And by the time I left New York, they said, would you be an ambassador for our store? We will just give you clothing. You share it online, share the love. I'm like, yeah, I love your stuff. And it's totally right in line with what I'm creating and believing in. And so that's a lighthearted yet serious at the same time example of no risk, no magic.
Oh, I love that. I had actually chills as you were.
Oh,
That's beautiful. And like so many times we fill up that space, right?
Yeah.
And it's also poignant for me because I'm about to go on an international travel. So I'm like, okay, maybe I need to rethink my luggage situation. So thank you for that.
Wow. Okay. Oh, I'm excited for your travel and the magic that's ahead for you and within.
Thank you so much. This just ties naturally to my next question to you, or next thing I want to explore with you, which is you talk also about healing your wardrobe.
Oh, do I? Isn't that something?
And what does that mean to you? And I am more of a, normally when I do this, I wear whites, or I have a very like white to black to gray wardrobe. So today I was like, I need to wear color for Rachel. But what does that mean to heal your wardrobe? How do we do that? It sounds magical.
Okay. I feel so moved by you. Thank you for resurfacing and knowing just the things to resurface that I have forgotten about and that I believe are exactly the thing for us to be offering as gifts, as shining suns to people listening. Healing my wardrobe, my goodness. As I heal my wardrobe, I heal me, and vice versa. So what I put on my body is, and what my body feels is so tied into my heart, because we are physical beings, right? We live in a physical world. What we put on our bodies, how the art we put on our walls, the carpet we put beneath our feet, they are all reflections of us, of the care we take with our hearts. They're all statements to ourselves of our worth, that we're worth the effort, that we're worth the care, that we're worth the colors. And just like I was saying, creativity and healing are like best friends with each other and talk to one another. I think that we have conversations, even if unconscious, with all of the physical world around us. And so with clothing, of course, we feel it, right? We have all these nerve endings at the base of our skin. Is the clothing soft enough? Is the clothing comfortable enough? So for example, each of our bodies are distinct in how we experience our clothing. But for me, and maybe for others too, I don't like things tight around my waist. I like them loose and flowy. I like the material soft against my skin. So if it's a scratchy wool, I'm going to want layers underneath that that are honoring me and honoring the sensations I experience. I want to have patterns and colors that that honor my needs. And so, for example, at night, I switch to really quiet colors, because it's just like closing my eyes. Like I need really calm and no big deal looking things at night. But in the daytime, I really want to have clothing that pops and that brings me joy, deep joy. And I'm serious about joy. And so I want to also please my inner child. I want to please the 5-year-old inside me. And I want to please the teenager in me who wants to do her own thing. And I want to please the adult in me who gets to still be super cared for and who gets to still be carefree. And to say, I don't care what others think, so I can wear all the patterns and brightness that I want, isn't quite the right way to say it. I want to give people the freedom to also, in the invitation, to dress what brings them joy. So I care about what they think in that way. So I want to care for myself and for others with how I dress. I want it to be a love letter to other people and to myself. And so when my closet is filled with things that suit me, that feel comfortable, that bring me delight, that honor what I need, that are selected because I love them, then my closet is this healing place, a place where there's music, if you will, and serenade and lullaby and love.
Yeah. Oh, I'm loving all of this. All day. It's just like, I mean, the way you describe it, that feeling of turning to or connecting with your garment choices as care for yourself, that awakening that energetic you a little bit more, which then awakens the people who get in touch with you because they feel your energy even before they see you. As you said, you were walking down in New York and you entered a store and people feel your energy because like you are being with things that bring you alive. And that's such a beautiful way to put it, which then brings me to, you mentioned the word need quite a bit. You said what the teenager in me needs, what the adult in me needs. What do we need? What is it that we need, Rachel?
What do we need? Which of course is such an all-encompassing big question. What do we need? Um, well, I, I, I'm pausing because I'm collecting my thoughts. I'm just going to be able to only give a sample because you well know, you must, that this is a retreat question. This is a question we could gather, all the listeners and you and me, we could gather in a beautiful space by a lake for a whole weekend and examine this question. And so I'll just give this little sampler, like opening a yummy box of chocolates and saying, let's just try a couple of them. What do we need? I'm going to bring myself through, because you just sort of led me through reflecting back, the 5-year-old, the teenager, the adult. I'm just going to say what comes to the top of my mind with each of those age times, those developmental times. The little girl of me, the 5-year-old, needs to play. She needs really nourishing food. She needs to know she's loved. She needs relationships reflecting back to her, her worth, her adorableness, her intelligence. She needs her imagination. She needs to be able to choose what socks she wants to wear. She needs to have friends who are fun and caring. She needs to know that her words that she says, the drawings she draws, the songs she sings, are heard and loved and are worth something. The teenager, she needs to know that it's okay to not know everything yet. And the teenager needs to know that she has friends who care about her. The teenager needs to know that her interests that she's exploring matter, and that she can step outside the box and say no to things and have that honored. And the teenager needs to be able to have crushes and to feel butterflies in her stomach. The adult needs to know she can bring the child and the teenager with her and that they all get to be expressed. The adult needs to know that she can still keep remaking herself and rediscovering herself, and that she can live out loud, she can rest and be quiet, and she can go out and speak again, and that all that she's integrating is just right.
That was a lot in a little bit, so thank you for that.
I couldn't stop talking. I'm like, I'll say a little bit, and it just kept coming.
That works.
Okay.
I'm curious about, so you got into this journey, becoming even more you, getting that place in you, which, you have this thing on your website, if I can read that, you write, we are all treasure chests with hearts in the middle. Treasure chests with hearts in the middle. I love that. And we get to make room for what really belongs inside. That's so beautiful. So it sounds to me like creativity is a huge part of it for you, what belongs inside. How does it happen for you? What is that creative process? How do little sparks of ideas come in, or do they get born from inside? Like, what is that process like for you?
I think it's varied, and there'd be a lot to say about that too. I think I will put a framework around that and answering it of, in my early 40s, what first inspired, besides the storyline I shared with you about the hysterectomy and the intention about creativity, I'll share with you how the creativity started to really knock at my door at that time. And I'll share with you now a couple things that the same answer. In fact, I'll start with now. Lately, I'm noticing and trusting. I am having a couple different experiences where people are boldly, I mean, not subtly, boldly saying things to me like, Rachel, I got to tell you what your next project is. Like that. I'm like, well, that's interesting. I'm literally taking notes when that's happening, right? I still want to compare that to my inner muse and spirit. Like, how does that align? How does that resonate, right? Like, I don't want to just do everything people tell me, but sometimes inspiration does come through relationship and is inspired. So I'm really paying attention. And I'm also noticing that, oh, this is kind of a newer thing where it's this thing happening right now. And I'm watching. So those are gifts to me. The other thing that's a little more last few years, so during the pandemic, which is still going on, but in the first 2 years of the like way distressed, don't have vaccination in the beginning, all the things, we all know the story. I felt moved to write my newest book, the relationship book, because it became so clear throughout the pandemic how critical our relationships are to one another, as we found ourselves increasingly isolated and creatively finding a way to find our way back to one another, even including some people getting pets, some people who are single living by themselves saying, I need a cat or a dog, I'm too isolated. To us finding our way back with technology to one another, with science, finding vaccinations, to find our way back to one another. So sometimes what's going on in the world inspires my creativity. What is the world thirsting for? What do I feel compelled to give? But I will say the other thing that I felt with my creativity really moved by in my early 40s was in my psychology practice. I felt my breath taken away so many times by insights I would hear from my clients, that out of their suffering, it would just blow me away. Some of the sentences, the knowings, the, inspired, I know this, or I feel this, or now I know this, that I thought, I'm the only one in the room hearing this. I need to be, it's confidential, but also I'm feeling really moved. So my first book is called All I Did Was Listen. And it's a compilation of anonymous client quotes. They all gave me permission to use them, along with my written reflection and drawings. And it cumulatively tells a story of transformation. That's all our story. So I am often moved in my creativity, in my relationships with others, and what I'm hearing. Words move me. And then I just feel compelled to draw alongside them.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was just thinking about your last name and that it's Oz. So it's like you are constantly in that state of being in awe. And with the people you encounter, it seems like, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So this next question, my 10-year-old daughter is an artist as well. So when I to her that I'll have the good luck of talking with another creator, an artist, she said, can you please ask her about creative blocks and what she recommends for creative blocks?
Oh my gosh. And you're saying blog, B-L-O-G?
Blocks as in like
CK?
CK. So
okay.
Sometimes she gets an idea and then when she sits down to draw it, she forgets about it. Or sometimes she sits down to draw and the idea isn't there yet. Something like that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I I think that it's such a common experience and how natural of her to have a creative block or blocks, plural. Um, and it's so interesting, by the way, because the word block has a dual meaning because we also build with blocks. And so, and the other thing that I think about with blocks is that sometimes when we block or blank or have resistance or don't want to, even I think blocks are an unconscious, I'm not ready, or I don't want to, or I'm scared, you know, that it's important to honor them and to realize there's nothing wrong with you, and that there's some other part of you that might need some loving attention. And that because blocks are often, I think, linked with fear or nerves, or beliefs like, I'm not going to draw this well, or I'm getting big inspirations and I'm kind of intimidated or overwhelmed by that, or do I really get to do this? That it can be a really wonderful invitation and opportunity to do maybe a couple things. One is to calm your body. Because a block is often tied with anxiety, our bodies need calming. And so if she feels a block, it might be a really nice invitation to do something that calms her body. And so whether that would be, I'm going to just spend a few minutes being with my breath, not doing anything fancy about it, just focusing on it. And being with my body, the in breath, the out breath. Or maybe doing that progressive relaxation head to toe, where you start with your feet and tense the muscles and then relax them, and do that all the way through. Or maybe go on a walk or take a bubble bath, or just do something that calms your body, and you do a shifting of gears. And then just notice and trust, have any of the ideas come back to me? Maybe even start a notebook of great ideas. And so as you have them, you can jot them down or have some index cards in your bedroom or on your bedside or in the bathroom, in your purse. So when you do have the creative idea, that you jot it down. And then you can come back to it whenever you want and not have to worry about the blocks. But the other thing that I want to say about blocks is that another thing she could do if she'd want to is, if she feels the block, she could get out a big notepad or a coloring pad or whatever, and crayons, colored markers, whatever she wants, and just write down some affirmations or mantras for herself. That would be like things she might be afraid of. So like, I'm just making these up right now, like write down, I get to do big things, or I get to trust my inspiration, or I remember things when just as I need to, or like just write down really loving, caring affirmations. Instead of trying to force the memory, like, what is it? What was that? Saying, I'm going to back up and I'm going to do some work with my heart.
That is absolutely beautiful. I feel like a lot of it applies to me too, but
yeah, and me too, all of us.
I will pass along the message, and I love the way you put it, which is like, in short, what do you need in that moment? It's not always about being productive, and what can we give ourselves that is a little bit gentler and kinder in that moment.
Right. It's like, what do I really need? Right. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I love 10-year-old girls. So please, like, tell her hi from me.
I will. Thank you.
Okay.
So, okay, this one sort of came to me as I was contemplating you and our conversation. What does freedom mean to you?
Wow. What does freedom mean to me? Freedom for me, I can say my words and not have to pretend I'm someone else. or not have to think, what is it you want to hear? But can I let my true presence come forward in the room? Are the people I'm selecting to have in my life safe and honoring of my presence, so that I am in relationship with people where I can be free? Freedom is having a clear pathway to listen to what brings me joy in what I eat, in what I wear, in who I'm with, in how I love. Freedom is wearing 20 different colored hair binders in my ponytail and not worrying about judgment, but just because I want to. It's being able to play again. Like, freedom is like remembering what it looks like and feels like to have a child skipping down the block without a care in the world, and somehow creating a life as I'm imperfectly able to do that with everything.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I mean, it's so interesting to me because I find the definition of that changes quite a bit. For me, at this time in my life, freedom is closely associated with bigger, better boundaries in a where I get to feel safe and okay, like the way you put it, in my relationships, especially.
I love that you said that, because it reminds me of an artist friend of mine. And she would say, whenever she creates an art print, she always has, for herself, she always has to create a border around the edges, and then she can go bat crazy on the inside with all her colors and be wild. But she always needs the border. And so that speaks to the boundary, right? That what is the boundary I need to create in my life so I can express myself, whatever that means to who you are, on the insides of that boundary.
Yeah. And we exist in this boundary. I mean, even though we extend beyond it, I feel electrically, we exist in this skin boundary. And I love how you put it, like we get to choose and create what goes inside. And I call it the drop of the drop of vibration that we are. We get to choose the vibration in it. And you say our world needs the present and authentic you. And I want to thank you, because I feel like you embody a lot of that presence, that authenticity. And the authenticity is like whatever you put in the container of the body, whatever you choose to eat, whatever you choose to wear, whoever you choose to relate to. So I think that looking at you, I am just coming in touch with a few places, including my luggage, that I could be freer in and a little bit more gentle in. So I really, really want to thank you for that reminder to take care of the container and to get to be creative with it, really.
Yeah, I love where we're coming to at this point in the conversation. Like, it's all coming together. I think I love how relationships do this, right? That you bring something to the table, I bring something to the table, and now we have a more complete story. And so the idea of the container as being so important. I mean, in that, for me to go skipping down the street, like, I need adequate rest. I need nutrition, all the things, right? And so thank you so much for bringing that up, about the boundary.
Yeah. What would you say to our listeners as like this final heart message, if you will.
Final heart message.
I mean, not like final, but like
No, I hear you, as a little wrap up or
parting gift, if you will.
a parting gift. Okay. Well, because this episode and what you're about is healing, I want to say that, I spent a little time this morning thinking about healing. And I was thinking about how, like, one of the goals of Buddhists is to cultivate a soft heart. And I think there is something about that's on my heart in this moment, about life is sometimes really hard. And so to realize that that healing is always the goal, and wholeness. And just like when we get a wound or a scrape on our skin, we're never the same after. That part of the skin is going to be tougher, that we are changed by our stories and by what we go through. But I think the invitation is always to come back home inside, not to harden. It's not about the defenses, but we do need to guard our hearts and take care of ourselves. But I think it's about, what's it going to take for you to open your heart back up and to let who you are come out and play? And what do you need to do to cultivate safety in your life so that you can have your full colors come forward, and maybe even in more vibrance than you've ever done it before? What's inviting your joy? What's inviting you out to play?
Absolutely, absolutely wonderful, Rachel. So thank you so much. I feel like I want to go back and re-listen to what we just talked about, but I'd like to direct our listeners to your website, racheloz.com, and that's I'll have the link below. And you are so generously offering a free additional dive-in book when they make a purchase from your shop. And you have a shop on your website and on Etsy, I believe.
Yeah.
And they just need to mention Conversations with Healers podcast to you, and then they get an additional
diving in book, which is one of my 4 books. Exactly. Yeah. So if you all, if they make a purchase there, and just in the note section, say, I was listening to Conversations with Healers, please include the extra book or whatever. I'll love to do that. And it's easy. You can even Google my name, just Rachel Oz, AWES. And those things will come up. You can find the shop or my website.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I took so much delight in it. And my hope and wish in these conversations is, like, I know when I'm connected and inspired, and I know you are too, you're very connected. So it feels like that usually naturally transfers to everyone listening. So that's my hope and wish for this conversation too. But thank you so much for being all your colors, wearing all your colors, and creating with all your colors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Damla.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to Conversations with Healers. If this episode spoke to you in any way, please leave a review or comment, like or love it, and share it with others in your life. This is a true soul love project from my heart to yours. I really appreciate your help in spreading the word. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and check out other episodes to listen to some extraordinary healing stories and advice. Have a beautiful and wonderful day.